Welcome to another episode of Books and Bytes. Today we're taking a deep dive into some truly fascinating source material. Excerpts from Robert Greene's powerful book, Mastery.
That's right. And our mission in this deep dive is, well, it's to go beyond just summarizing. We're really unpacking the core concepts and the strategies Greene presents for achieving true mastery in just about any field. We're pulling out the most insightful nuggets,
Think of this as your shortcut, maybe, to understanding the essence of becoming a master.
Exactly.
And you're going to hear about some surprising paths, unexpected challenges, and really compelling stories. Stories of individuals who didn't just learn a skill. They seemed to tap into something, well, deeper, a deeper potential.
Mm-hmm. It's all about unlocking your innate power. And Greene argues it all starts by looking inward.
So let's kick off with that very first big idea the material explores. This idea of possessing an inner force, what's called your life's task. Greene suggests the initial step towards mastery isn't about, choosing a career off some list. It's fundamentally an inward journey to discover this force.
What's absolutely fascinating here is this idea of an innate force, or maybe a primal inclination. It's not just a preference or like a fleeting interest. It's presented as something you are meant to accomplish, almost like a hidden destiny. And this internal compass, that's what should guide you to the right career path, the right field. And importantly, the material really emphasizes it's never too late to begin this process or identify it.
And this inclination, it's described as deeply unique to you, isn't it? Often something that existed before you could even put words to it, like a pre-verbal sensation.
Exactly. It comes from your unique chemistry, your biology, psychology, not something you were talked into or, infected by what others wanted for you, like your parents maybe.
Right. So how do people actually find this? The source material gives us a few strategies, right?
Yeah, some really interesting ones. There's the following your inclination approach. Think Charles Darwin. His father wanted him to be a doctor or maybe join the church, but young Darwin, he was just lit up by observing nature, collecting things.
Oh, okay.
His big adventures on the Beagle, the fossils, questioning creationism later on, it was all fueled by this deep internal curiosity from way back.
Or there's a rebellion strategy like Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart.
He was brilliant, obviously, but for a time just performing almost like a puppet for his father, Leopold. His real love, that deep inclination, was composing operas.
So the conflict with his father.
The sources frame it as a necessary rebellion, a breaking away to follow that authentic voice.
Interesting. What about adapting?
That's another one. Yoki Matsuoka is the example here, the adaptation strategy. She first rebelled through tennis, then found this intense focus in math problems. Eventually, she found a way to combine these kind of disparate interests, sports, math, geometry, even piano, into robotics. Designing sophisticated hands.
Wow, pulling it all together.
Exactly. And Temple Grandin is another powerful example of sort of finding your unique path. Her wanting tennis at 11 showed independence, but it was her deep, unique obsession with cattle that resurfaced later. Despite professors doubting her, she pursued analyzing feedlots. That's where she found her life's task, applying her unique visual thinking and empathy.
And Leonardo da Vinci fits this too, right? That hidden force.
Absolutely. He wasn't content just imitating, drawn to the wild, sketching, inventing. This inner drive led to incredible boldness. Giant sculptures, flying machines, dissecting bodies.
Which wasn't just morbid curiosity.
No, the material suggests it was a profound quest to understand life's essence, driven by that primal urge.
In finding this life's task, it's not just selfish.
Not according to these sources, no. It's argued that when you pursue your unique calling, you actually contribute to the diversity and richness of society. But the foundation has to be loving the subject, a deep, almost spiritual connection. It has to feel like what you were meant to do.
So bring this back to you, the listener. Why should you care about finding your life's task?
Well, it's about alignment, isn't it? Aligning your energy with what genuinely excites you. That leads to deeper engagement, more fulfillment, maybe greater impact.
And how can you start identifying these things, these early attractions or inclinations?
It takes some quiet introspection, I think. A willingness to listen to that inner voice, maybe.
Okay, so you've maybe identified that glimmer, that inclination, but how do you actually build the capacity to act on it?
Right. That takes us to the next crucial phase, the sources detail, the apprenticeship. This is your practical education, the real-world learning after formal schooling, and it's absolutely non-negotiable on the path to mastery.
And the goal here isn't simple.
No, it's multifaceted. It's about mastering necessary skills, yes, but also disciplining your mind, learning patience, and ultimately transforming into an independent thinker. It's about changing how you think.
And this applies across fields, right?
Pretty much. It's the path all masters seem to follow.
And there's a key principle here that feels counterintuitive. Prioritize learning over pay.
Exactly. During this phase, you have to prioritize learning opportunities, challenging experiences over just immediate comfort or salary. You actively seek out environments that toughen you up, where you get objective, maybe even harsh feedback, not the easy route.
Okay, so how does this apprenticeship work? Greene breaks it down.
Yeah, into 3 essential modes, sort of sequentially. First, deep observation, just passively soaking it all in. Then skills acquisition, that's the active practice part. And finally, experimentation, where you start applying and testing what you've learned.
Let's focus on skills acquisition. That sounds critical.
It absolutely is. It's about hardwiring those fundamental abilities through repetition, like learning to ride a bike until it's automatic.
Right.
But here's a key insight. The quality of practice matters more than just hours logged. Intense, focused concentration, maybe 2 to 3 hours, is way more effective than, say, 8 hours of diffused effort.
Why is that?
Because deep focus actually rewires the brain more effectively. And once skills become automatic, it frees up mental space. You can then do higher-level self-analysis, seek more sophisticated feedback. This phase grounds you in reality. It shows you your limits, but also what hard work can actually achieve.
And this leads to something called the cycle of accelerated returns.
Exactly. As core skills become automatic, practice gets more efficient. You can add variations, focus on nuances, push harder. This is where you might enter that flow state, becoming one with the work.
And that's where tacit knowledge comes in.
Yes. That deep, intuitive understanding gets embedded not just in your mind, but physically. Muscle memory, reflexes.
Okay. What about overcoming limitations? That's got to be part of it.
Definitely. The story of Zora Neale Hurston is used here. She faced huge challenges, but realized, no one gives you direction. You have to generate that energy yourself. You have to actively struggle against limitations, constantly expand your horizons, read beyond what's required, develop a real hunger for knowledge. Don't let status define you.
And we develop learning disabilities as adults. That sounds worrying.
Well, yeah, in a sense. Daniel Everett's experience with the Pirahan language is the example. We get smug, rigid in our ideas from schooling or family, maybe afraid of things that are truly different.
We close ourselves off.
Exactly. To really learn something new and fundamental, you have to overcome that fear of the other. You need to be willing to participate, feel vulnerable, almost like a child learning again. Absorb it from the inside, not just analyze from afar.
The sources also talk about failure. How does that fit in?
It's seen quite positively, actually, if it's the right kind of failure. There's timidity failing because you didn't try, you learned nothing. Versus failure from a bold venture, that teaches you a lot.
So failure toughens you.
Yes, and it shows you how things must be done, often in non-obvious ways. Success first time can be a curse. You miss learning from mistakes. Think Henry Ford. His first car company attempts failed, but he learned by fixing the glitches. That's where the real learning happened.
So act early, expose ideas to reality.
Pretty much. Be ready for things to go wrong and learn from that feedback loop.
What about combining different kinds of knowledge, like art and engineering?
Santiago Calatrava, the architect, is the example. He knew he needed engineering, the how buildings stood up, not just design what they looked like. That fusion allowed him to push boundaries, create something more poetic, but still functional.
And for the modern age, there's the hacker approach.
Yeah, people like Paul Graham. It's about figuring things out yourself, exploring deeply, iterating fast based on real use. Like with ViaWeb, getting instant feedback. In fast-moving fields, novelty coming from an unexpected angle can be a huge advantage.
Y Combinator is even framed as an apprenticeship system.
Right, one refined through trial and error itself.
So for you listening, what does your apprenticeship look like? Are you prioritizing learning? How are you handling setbacks, treating them as data points?
It's really where the deep foundations get built.
Okay, building skills, gaining experience, that's huge.
Yeah.
But you don't do it alone, right? The human element is critical. Greene talks about mentors and navigating the social world.
Absolutely. This is where the alchemy of knowledge, how you absorb wisdom and social intelligence, understanding people come in. They're intertwined.
Michael Faraday's story really illustrates this, doesn't it?
It's a classic. Limited background, bookbinder's apprentice, but he turned that shop into his university. devouring books, finding his calling, reading about electricity. He even used a book as a temporary mentor, recreating experiments from it.
And he took notes at lectures.
Copious notes, then reworked them. A powerful way to imprint knowledge. And his determination to work with Sir Humphrey Davy, that was strategic. Sending notes, reminding him about experiments. It eventually worked.
And it wasn't just learning facts from Davy.
No, a key part was observing how Davy thought. Seeing that creative process in action. How do you find the right experiment to prove an idea?
The sources mention our culture's skepticism towards authority. How does that play in?
Well, Greene argues that while skepticism of, say, political authority is healthy, it can be a problem in learning. There's a phase where you kind of need to submit to earned accomplishment, absorb a mentor's power deeply before you can really innovate effectively.
So how do you navigate that mentor dynamic?
The sources suggest strategies like initially absorbing through mimicry, asking those deep, probing midwife questions, recognizing you might need multiple mentors, using books as temporary mentors, but actively engaging.
Like Faraday did.
Exactly. And crucially, knowing when it's time to move on, respectfully, to find your own path.
The Jung and Freud relationship seems like a good example of this complexity.
For sure. Jung admired Freud, learned immensely, but felt ambivalent about some core ideas, like the focus on sex. But he used their intense correspondence to question, clarify, and ultimately develop his own perspective.
And Glenn Gould, the pianist.
A different angle. He was an amazing mimic, absorbed his teacher Guerrero's style deeply. They eventually argued. Gould went his own way, but his later mastery showed how profoundly he'd internalized Guerrero's methods, making them his own.
Okay, let's shift to social intelligence. Understanding people. This is biologically rooted.
The sources suggest so, yeah. Linked to mirror neurons, the brain cells that fire when we act and when we see someone else act. It gives us a basis for empathy.
But the challenge is getting out of our own heads.
Right. We tend to project our own stuff, fear the other. It takes conscious effort to gain perspective. Empathy, yes, but also participation in their world.
Benjamin Franklin is the master here.
He's highlighted as one, yes. An acute observer, patient, open-minded across cultures. And this wasn't separate from his work. It fed into his science, his writing.
His transformation in France.
A prime example. Adapting his persona strategically to appeal to French sensibilities. Win support for a crucial cause. It was purposeful adaptation based on observation.
Greene also warns about deadly realities. Social pitfalls. Like conformism.
Yeah, the pressure to mask your uniqueness. Fit in. The advice is pragmatic. Recognize social life is often theater, wear the mask when needed, but protect your inner spirit.
And rigidity.
Oh, that's a big one. Preferring the familiar, defending old ideas even when wrong. We see it all the time. The insight is, accept it in others, but fight to keep your own mind open.
Self-obsessiveness. People masking self-interest.
Yes. The slightly cynical but practical advice is, understand people act on self-interest. Don't just appeal to their stated virtues. Rely on yourself.
And passive aggression.
Fear of direct conflict leading to indirect attacks. Sometimes you call it out, sometimes ignore it, but be wary of those who really weaponize it.
So how to navigate all this? What are the strategies?
Keep a rational mindset. Avoid emotional reactions. Focus on actions over words. Actions reveal true motives. Cultivate some distance, detachment.
Right. Don't get swept up. So thinking about your own world. How do these dynamics play out? Conformity, rigidity, passive aggression. How aware are you? And could these strategies, observing action, staying detached, help you navigate more effectively? Okay, we've covered finding your calling, the tough apprenticeship, navigating mentors and social dynamics. Now the pinnacle, mastery. And the sources describe this as a powerful fusion of intuition and rationality, a higher intelligence.
That's right. It's cultivated through years, decades maybe, of deep immersion, staying true to those inclinations we talked about. That immersion builds an almost automatic intuitive feel. You then fuse this with rigorous rational processes. It expands the mind. It's like animal instinct, but with human consciousness directing it.
Where does this intuition come from?
The sources trace it back to our ancestors, developing intuition from experience tracking, navigating complementing reason, gaining speed. Mastery takes time, maybe 20,000 hours. And this intuition often feels preverbal, like Leonardo's feel for anatomy or Faraday's for electromagnetism.
So once you have this foundation, you enter the creative active phase, using that knowledge.
Exactly. And there are strategies for this too. First, finding the right creative task. True creativity engages your whole self, emotions, energy, mind. It takes time, effort. Choosing the right problem is critical.
Then there's negative capability. staying with uncertainty.
Yes, from Keats, seen in Einstein too. The ability to tolerate ambiguity, not rush to easy answers. It opens the mind to novel connections.
Cultivating the current, looking for anomalies.
Finding patterns, inconsistencies, translating ideas into tangible things, prototypes like Buckminster Fuller did, forces you to refine. Remember Pasteur. Chance favors only the prepared mind. Discoveries happen to those who are looking, who have the foundation.
Thinking beyond language is important too.
For many greats, yes. Thinking in images, models, Hadamard, Faraday, Einstein, find ways to engage your non-linguistic intelligence.
And reverting to primal intelligence, letting the unconscious work.
Yeah, allowing incubation, step away from conscious struggle, let the brain synthesize. Schiller's apples, Wagner's dream, those kinds of stories.
Creativity also involves boldness, rebellion.
Absolutely. Not accepting the status quo, playing with rules, experimenting, avoiding that creeping conservatism as you get established.
So bringing it all back to mastery.
Yeah.
It's this fusion, not just gut feeling.
Critically important point. It's not just intuition. That intuition is built on deep knowledge and rational skills from the apprenticeship. Intuition has to be tested, verified by reason and science, or shaped and refined in arts. They operate seamlessly together, a constant dance.
Can you give some examples of this fused intelligence in action?
Sure. Think Micronesian navigators. Deep connection to the sea and stars, yes, but also acute observation and complex rational systems for paths and currents. It merged into an overall feel, knowing from the inside. Questioning fundamental assumptions daringly, his thought experiments weren't just flashes. They were built on deep knowledge and abstract reasoning, leading to principles like relativity, later verified. Seems magical, but it was deep work.
Temple Grandin again.
Yes, fusing her visual thinking and empathy, that intuitive connection with rational analysis of feedlot design, that inside sense led to innovation. She applied the same fusion to autism.
Cesar Rodriguez, the pilot.
Not naturally gifted, but practice built an incredible feel for flying. He fused that with rational strategy, developing a global perspective, an intuitive grasp of the whole campaign, cultivated concentration.
Leonardo. His art and science.
His dissections weren't just science. That rational understanding infused his art. Incredible realism, summato, connecting detail to a larger intuitive vision of life. That living flesh, Bizzari described.
Freddie Roach, the boxing trainer.
That intuitive boxer's feel, honed through practice and mitt work, fused with rigorous, rational analysis of tapes, developing a global perspective on the fight. And Johann Wolfgang von Goethe, diving into diverse fields, botany, optics, combined with lived experience, seeking unifying connections, fusing rational inquiry with a holistic search for meaning.
So achieving mastery isn't just about getting good at one thing. It expands consciousness.
That's the idea, connecting you more deeply to reality, embracing complexity, thinking more contextually, seeing relationships.
And the big takeaway, this isn't just genetics or luck.
No. The sources consistently link it back to the process. Following that deep inclination, discipline, and apprenticeship, deep work over time, continuous learning, it's demanding, sure, but it allows you to reach your highest potential and make a unique contribution.
So we've traced this incredible journey towards mastery, as outlined in these excerpts from Robert Greene's work, starting with finding your unique life's task, then submitting to that rigorous apprenticeship.
Building skills and discipline.
Entering the creative active phase to innovate.
And finally, reaching that state of mastery, that seamless fusion of deep intuition and sharp rationality.
It's quite a path.
It is. And the material leaves us with this compelling understanding. Mastery is within reach. For anyone willing to dedicate themselves, trust their inclinations, and keep learning and adapting, it's a journey of transformation, really.
So let's leave you with a final thought to consider. Where do you honestly see yourself right now on this path towards mastery in whatever field or passion drives you?
And thinking about that, what's just one concrete thing, one small step maybe you could do today, something to move even just a little bit closer to that full fusion of knowing and doing, that state where intuition and analysis really work as one?